Hello. The insight, the idea, or sales secret you need for massive impact is just moments away. It's time to get more clients. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most fail to connect, capture, and close their ideal clients. The mission of this show is to share Fortune 500 sales secrets to help you open the vault to your greater business success. Imagine you're at a party and you spot someone across the room holding a tray of your favorite appetizers. You've got two choices: dive right in without a word, awkward, or strike up a conversation. Figure it out if they're offering those treats to you or someone else, and maybe even learn about more goodies they have up their sleeve. Sales is a lot like that. You're not just after a quick bite, you're building a connection. You ask questions, gauge if there's a match, and learn if you've got what you need, or better yet, if you have what they need, right? Skip the small talk and you'll probably leave hungry. But with the right questions, you're walking away with the whole platter and an invitation to the next party. That's how you turn a small spark into raving rapport, one appetizer at a time. Last week, I shared what is worthy intent and how does it build strong relationships. Today, I will be discussing from small spark to raving rapport, how to connect with prospects. You work with smart people who are qualified and capable of making good decisions for themselves and or their organizations. Establishing relationships that recognize these attributes reflects your worthy intent and genuine desire to become a trusted partner. By the end of today's show, you will know how to evaluate if your new contact is a qualified lead or if they are a resource who can support you or who you can support, or a potential partner. Ask discovery questions to learn more about their goals, objectives, and initiatives as you cultivate your relationship. Position questions to help you set the stage to close the sale. Throughout the sales journey, you must diligently continue to learn everything you can about the individuals and their associates and stakeholders and their organization. In the process, you're able to dig deeper to identify and uncover possibilities for your products and services that the client has not visualized. It goes far beyond specifications or requirements. It's at the surface that find these challenges or objectives. And when you do that, you're digging more to unearth what is their challenge, their pain points, their objectives, their goals. It's about finding the perfect fit. So I was looking over here. There it is. Are they a fit? After making a new connection and demonstrating your worthy intent, you need to evaluate if your new contact is a potential prospect or if they are a resource you can support and tap. These questions are internal. You ask and answer them yourself. Your evaluation places the new connection into one of 5 categories: prospect, promoter, partner, platform, or resource. Here are the first questions to ask yourself and answer. How well do they match your ideal client avatar? Do we answer their client why? How do we benefit them? What's the ideal use case? Will they use our product or service in ways that maximize value for them? What would automatically make them a bad fit for us? Now, that's important. This is an act as selfless and selfish qualification. Is the contact the decision maker? Now, for some of you, their physical location could be a factor, or there could be something else that you need to take into account. If you are in the B2B space, there are some additional questions to answer. Do they align with your identified market segments? Which industry are they in? So if you're primarily selling to insurance brokers and they're an attorney, all of a sudden that's a pretty big change from what you normally work with and the clients you normally have. Could be in B2B. What is the size of their organization? That could qualify or disqualify them. Their revenue, headcount, locations, all of these things could factor in to a business-to-business sales product or service. Their number of customers, and the list goes on. In addition, in that B2B environment, what's the relevant department? Are they in the type of department you normally sell to, such as risk management, environmental health and safety, or HR, or some other department that you would normally work with? And what's the size of that department? So these are just some of the questions. And for you, you're going to need to look at any specific market segment fit factors that you need to confirm. So that includes whether you're selling direct, or if it's a direct to the consumer, or if it's a B2B product or service that you sell. Now, as you're going through these, there are questions that you're going to be asking your client to make sure that you're answering these internal questions. So you're not going to be making assumptions. No, you are going to be asking questions that help you answer the internal questions. It's about making sure that this is a win-win. This is a good fit for you and for your prospect. Once you've answered these questions about your new contact, you're able to determine the next step. I had just said that, but it's really important to repeat. There is a very important caveat. Don't make generalizations or assumptions. You need to be pulling and answering these internal questions from the discussion that you're having with the client. In some cases, the questions outlined above can be part of your discovery conversation. It depends on your product or service, your own unique approach, and how you like to go through the discovery question conversation with your client. Remember, the client's perception equals truth. So what about those discovery questions? As you cultivate your new relationship, you will ask discovery questions to learn more about their goals, objectives, and initiatives, helping you answer the internal questions while keeping the client why, their client why, in focus. This is all about them. Be very laser focused on them and their client why. Now, in B2B sales, there are 3 levels of client need: the company, the department, and individual. We sell to people. Therefore, their individual need or their individual why is the most important factor. When you're selling directly to the consumer, it is about that why, but then you may have other factors that you do have to consider. Do they have a partner? Do they have a team? Do they have It could be that there's another influence outside of their business, and the family or their very close friends. So these are things that would also come into play as factors, but there really you're selling to that individual. Just like you are B2B, it is the most important factor. The following questions are intended only as a guide. So I've put a bunch of questions together, and you will need to make adjustments that fit your personality, your approach, your business model or product or service. And you always must adapt your discovery questions to your prospect situation. All right, let's walk through these. How did you hear about us? Now, you do not have to do this. You can use it if that's something that you're curious about. You can use it as appropriate. Depending on your product or service, this may be something that you want to hear about how they connected with you. And it's an excellent question to learn why they're interested in your product or service when you hear about how they heard about you, because you can start to connect the dots. Second question, what are the top challenges your team or company is currently facing? Now, here's another variation. What are the top challenges you are currently facing? You can also ask, what specific goals, plans, and objectives are you wanting to see the biggest impact and improvement between now and the end of the quarter? All three of those are really positioning to find out what's happening in the client's world. Another way that you can do this is you can ask them what's working in their business right now, or in that department, or in that process. And then from there, what's not working. So first you get them on the positive, what's working, and then what's not working. Following up with, what would you love to have working? So in each of these cases, it's really an exploration of finding out what's going on and where they want to be, what do they want to fix or solve, and where they want to go. Where's the destination? Some additional questions, discovery questions. What are the results you want to achieve? And how do you want to achieve them? Now, this can be a two-part where you first ask, what are the results you want to achieve? Then, how do you want to achieve them? You can also ask, how do you envision achieving your objective? This is really putting them into the future, transporting them to where they want to be. That visualization is very important for clients to visualize where they want to be and why it matters to them, and tap into those emotions that come out of the conversation. When would you like to achieve these results? This is a great question. Whether you're working with B2B or direct, the key thing here is that you can find out if they have realistic expectations, and don't just take their first answer. This is really important to ask a second follow-up question. So when they answer, either do the and then have them expand on it, or tell me more. I'm curious about this, and then have them tell you more. So the key here is that you want to get to the root, and often that second answer is going to give you more information, especially about when they want to achieve these results, so that you can find out if they have realistic expectations, right? Sort of like someone who wants to do weight loss and they want to lose 50 pounds by next week for a high school reunion. Well, it's never going to happen. I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating there, but you see what I mean? That can really help you dig deeper. Another great question, discovery question, is how would achieving these results benefit you your team, and company. And that, once again, that's a three-part, but you put it together in one question. And then as they answer them, you say, okay, well, that's really great. I'm curious though, what about you? Or what about your team? Or what about your company? As appropriate. And then you can fill in the blanks with, if this is direct to consumer, you can fill in the blanks about to your family. What would this mean to your in your personal life, right? How would this translate from business to personal? All right, let's keep going through these discovery questions. What do you see as the root causes to the challenge, or to a challenge, or to this challenge? This is really great because, once again, this is where you can do the, tell me more, I'm curious about, so that you can dig a little deeper. Another great question is, what would be the consequences if you did not solve these issues? Wow, that's a loaded one. And you really want to find out about the emotions and motivations that are in this answer. Okay. Now, got another one. Are you working on an element of a larger initiative or goal? So, in some cases, direct to consumer or B2B, solving this one piece is really part of solving a bigger problem. So, maybe they want to learn how to do follow up, they want to do sales follow up. Well, that's really part of a bigger piece of closing more sales, getting more clients, right? So, it's part of a bigger goal. Another question you can ask directly: how can I assist you to accomplish your objectives? So whether you trying to sell them, they're telling you how you're going to be able to help them. Another great question is, what motivated you to search for a solution now? Now, you don't have to use this. Sometimes all of these are optional, that you need to make them fit your personality, your style, your business model, your product or service. Okay. There is a variation on this one, is, what are your motivations to pursue a solution now? And that's really a very direct way to try to find out what is making them, what's the driver, what's really putting this into the front burner for them to seek a solution. Now, there's a whole bunch of additional questions I've got for you. That's right. Here's another one. Which features or requirements versus nice to haves? So, what are requirements versus nice to have? So, this is like a features and benefits. But if someone is looking for a solution, they may say, I want to have private consulting. I don't want to be in a group. I mean, that's an important requirement for them. So, this is a great question. It helps you uncover hidden objectives, objections as well, and critical gaps between your product or service and the client's priorities. All right. Another follow-up to that is, why do you need these particular features? Is there a workaround, or is there a deal breaker? So these are things that you really need to find out. So let's say that they're shopping for a new email service provider solution. I'm just throwing this stuff out there. As an example, they may have very specific features, like they currently are using a multiple RSS feed in their nurture emails. And if your service does not provide that, and that's an absolute requirement, and there isn't a workaround, and it's not negotiable, well, all of a sudden that's a deal breaker, right? So it's important that you find these things out. Okay, what about another question that you could ask? What role do you play in the decision-making process? Wow, that is so important, especially in a B2B, because often you will think that you're talking to the decision maker, and you discover that, well, it's actually their boss who's going to decide. They're going to be the advisor. They are going to be the implementer, but they're not ultimately going to give the yes or no. They're an influencer in that decision. And I have to tell you, this may seem like it's obvious, but it isn't. And this is a critical question, and it should never be overlooked, even in direct to consumer, because they may have a significant other or partner or someone who's helping, who's going to be bankrolling this investment for this business growth. So there is somebody else who's going to be a critical component of that decision making process. So, with that said, who are the people who have the final say on making a decision? Right? What concerns will your decision makers likely have? Great to find this out from the person who's going to be really implementing the program, who's going to be your one direct contact. Now, I realize a lot of these questions sound very B2B, but they're all easily adaptable for direct consumer. So how does your organization make decisions? This could be, how do you make decisions? Or how do you and your partner make decisions? Understanding the internal processes will determine your own strategy and tactics as you're working through the discovery questions and knowing how you're going to guide your client to close the sale. So again, if this is B2B, which departments are involved? If it's direct consumer, it could be, who are the other influencers in your decision-making process? Who else is involved? Now, this is a great one, whether it's B2B or direct to consumer, because who will be responsible for implementing or overseeing our product or service? Because often if you're selling directly to an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, they may have VAs, and you may be working with them to actually implement portions of your solution. So this is an important question to ask. And while the decision makers themselves may be enthusiastic, the person responsible for implementing the program could become a choke point. And this knowledge will help you get them on board and ease the process. So I've still got a few more questions for you. Whoa, lots of discovery questions. Do you have the resources and time to handle implementation and training? Now, you might think, whoa, I don't know if I want to get into this, but this is a critical gap that could stall your sale or reveal that it's a bad fit. Another question, how much time did it take your organization to buy a similar product or service? So this can easily be adapted. When do you want to make a decision and begin implementation, right? So there's really getting into, what's our timeline look like? Now, which metrics will you use to evaluate the success of my solution? Now, I want to say why this is so important. And this is something that you could ask potentially after the sale, but asking it in front of the sale is vital to creating a great experience for your client with your product or service, because then you know the milestones and the metrics that they're looking to achieve. And once again, if they're even remotely realistic, okay? Who oversees the budget? So this is definitely more of a B2B question, but you can adapt it, such as, how much have you spent on similar solutions? And how much do you have budgeted now? All right, more discovery questions. Have you ever needed to invest in a solution that was outside of the original budget? If so, what was the budget allocation process? Now, these are all really getting into some of the nitty-gritty of understanding what's going on with your client. Now, I've used this before, and I've talked about what's worked and what's not worked with either a previous or a current provider, because sometimes you're going to be replacing someone they're already working with. And that includes if you're a coach or a consultant, right? And I want you to think about all of these things when you're putting your questions together. Some are going to be really a good fit. Others of these questions, as you go through and listen to the replay again, they're not a good fit for you. And you're going to want to modify them. So this is a great one to ask. Are you considering a DIY approach? Because some people are just fishing and they're on this discovery call to try to pick your brain. And all of these questions they serve you with a strong and accurate understanding of your client's processes, their situation, and their perspective. Really trying to get into their why, their mindset, their motivations, their emotions, because it's the emotions that drive their decision. And keep in mind, the goal is for you to learn as much as you can and rooting out hidden objections or potential choke points along your client's sales journey. Now, finally, I want to talk about setting the stage. And while today I talked a lot about discovery questions, and it's not about closing, you are building rapport and guiding your prospect to a decision. During these discovery questions, there may be an opportunity for you to help set the stage to close the sale. And the key components of the questions, the discovery questions, are to validate you have a match. And if they're a good fit, this prospect is a good fit, then you're going to be empowered and you're going to be able to close the sale much quicker. And a few questions that you could ask: what are the steps we need to take today to make this happen? And this is really providing them the opportunity to give you the roadmap to close the sale. You could also ask, are there any obstacles that could prevent us from moving forward? Because once again, you're trying to proactively identify challenges to closing the sale. Based on our discussion, do you feel our solution is a good fit for your needs? Why? This is a great one so that you can move that conversation forward. Now, there's a great way that you can actually then move into directly closing the sale. And this is a really good piece so that you can either, if you need to have another meeting, you want to get that minimal actionable commitment from the client from this discovery call, this initial discovery call. Would next Tuesday at the same time work with your schedule for our next meeting? Or would next week on Tuesday the 5th at 10 a.m. work for you and your team for our presentation? It really depends on what you're doing. You could even move right in with that work for a kickoff of our program. Just go right in for the close. The purpose is always to have that next step in the sales journey secured. So as we wrap up today's episode, remember that building raving rapport with your prospects is about more than just making a sale. It's about truly connecting and digging into who they are. Whether they're a prospect, resource, or potential partner, your job is to ask the right questions, dig deeper, and uncover the best way to serve their unique objectives. Keep your client's why at the heart of your interactions and use every conversation as an opportunity to discover and deliver value. And your next actionable step is just a question away. What was your biggest takeaway from this episode? I would love to hear about it. It's important to support your things you love. And if you loved this episode, a 5-star review would really help keep the show coming to you every week. Also, if you want to get more sales strategies to grow your business, make sure you subscribe right now. Today, I explored from small spark to raving rapport. I can't even say it. Raving rapport. How to connect with prospects. The key is for you to implement these stops and stop wasting your time, energy, and resources. If you want to get results even faster, I invite you to download my sales strategy checklist at petitetoqueen.com/checklist. I'll see you next week on Get More Clients.